During the summer of 1944, Europe was on the verge of being conquered by the German Nazi forces. However, Operation Overlord altered the course of history. While many believed that the sacrifices on D-Day were too abundant and too many lives were lost, Operation Overlord was a critical turning point in World War II, as it broke a vital part of the Atlantic Wall for the Allied forces to infiltrate, crippled German defenses, and gave the Allies the opportunity to win the war. For the war and the Axis forces, this day marked the beginning of the end. Prior to World War II, across the globe, it was a time of growing nationalism. Many political leaders led as tyrants, such as Joseph Stalin, Benito Mussolini, and Adolf Hitler. These leaders played critical roles in the deadliest conflict in human history. Historians have debated whether or not Hitler had a master plan for world conquest. However, Hitler was able to gain the votes of millions of German citizens who were ready to be lifted from the shame and penalties imposed on them from the Treaty of Versailles. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to hand over territory to Poland, Belgium, and Czechoslovakia, and they were required to pay for damages inflicted during World War I. When Hitler came into power, he brought promise of economic relief and Germany's return to European power. The Nazi Party used propaganda to play on the people's fears, hopes, and prejudices and place blame on others such as Jews for Germany's problems. Toward the end of the 1930s, one of Hitler's top priorities was to conquer the Austrian-Dutch territory in Poland, to populate it with Aryans and to enslave the Polish residents to serve as laborers. Hitler believed that the Polish were inferior and that their life unworthy of life. On September 1, 1939, Hitler led his Third Reich to attack Poland. France and Great Britain saw this as a step too far and agreed to help Poland. So they declared war on Germany and enlisted other countries to fight against the Nazis. After Germany conquered Poland, Hitler began arranging plans to attack France and Great Britain. In 1940, the Third Reich began an invasion called the Battle of Britain. As the bombing campaign raged on, the British never gave up. They shot down over 2,000 German aircraft. This attack was enough to make Germany retreat. Initially, the United States were reluctant to get involved in the war. However, they provided support to Britain with supplies such as artillery, food, and other military resources. December 7, 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and awakened a sleeping giant. A day later, the United States declared war on Japan, and on December 11th, Germany and Italy declared war on the US. The Americans and the British were now strong allies in the war against the Axis forces. Fortunately for the United States, they had been ramping up military equipment manufacturing and were fully prepared for war. In December of 1943, as the Nazis moved closer to Great Britain, General Dwight D. Eisenhower was appointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. Although the planning of Operation Overlord had begun years prior, this is when the operation intensified. After the Nazis overtook Western Europe, they established a defensive barrier that extended nearly 1,700 miles across the coast from southern France to northern Norway. This barrier was named the Atlantic Wall. After the Allies identified Normandy Beach as the best point of entry into Western Europe, one of their most critical steps was the deception operation named Fortitude, which was designed to draw the Nazis away from Normandy. This top-secret unit was named the Ghost Army. It consisted of artists specializing in visual, sonic, and radio deceptions.
At every level, the art of war requires intelligent and creative thought, and probably no more so than in the practice of deception, because there you have to see into the mind of your adversary, and you have to create for him a misleading picture of the operation to come.
Another critical deception operation was called Operation Garbo. Agent Juan Pujol Garcia, also known as Garbo, gained the Germans' trust over years of feeding them a mix of true and false information. With the help of the Ghost Army, they effectively distracted the German defenses away from Normandy to the narrowest part of the English Channel. The attack on Normandy Beach, France, was split into smaller beaches codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. The planned coastal invasion, codenamed Operation Neptune, included 1,213 warships, 8 different navies carrying 176,000 troops, and 4,126 landing crafts, giving Overlord the right to own the title, largest-scale amphibious invasion in history. The weather played a key role on D-Day, as it delayed the operation by 1 day. The forecast also convinced the German commander, Erwin Rommel, that the Allies would not attack in bad weather, and that it was okay for him to leave France to attend his wife's birthday in Germany. Meanwhile in Normandy, the battle was about to begin. As the Allies approached Normandy Beach, the scent of rain and seawater hung heavy in the air, as the dark clouds above lingered from the previous day's storm. Ahead, the Atlantic wall was coming into view from beyond the mist. The anticipation was growing by the minute. Before the Allies reached land, they were greeted by heavy artillery firing at them from the turrets above.
Those machine guns, 42 shot 1,200 rounds a minute. I could see peripheral vision. To the back of me, there was a soldier. So I hollered, "Hey, buddy, have you got a match?" No answer. I turned and looked, and there was no head under the helmet. It probably saved my life to turn. It's like the soul of that guy said, "Get up and get out of here now."
By the end of the day, this came to be one of the bloodiest battles in combat history. 4,414 Allied soldiers died, and over 5,000 were severely injured. After D-Day, the Allies advanced inward toward Germany, but their progress slowed in the fall of 1944 due to the German resistance. The operation obliterated 1,050 tanks by August and reduced the Luftwaffe aircraft from 4,201 to 2,127. The Allies now found themselves with a tactical and physical advantage due to the impact of Operation Overlord. Although the war did not end as quickly as anticipated, D-Day had successfully demolished a critical part of the Atlantic Wall, opening military supply lines for transporting combat vehicles and other battle resources needed to cripple the Nazis' army. Hitler had no other choice than to use untrained men, women, and children to help defend Germany. It was April 25, 1945, and the Soviet Red Army had surrounded Berlin and the Nazis' previously depleted defenses. As the Soviets were tightening their grip on Berlin, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker to follow the vow he made to die rather than to surrender. On May 2nd, after Hitler's death, the Germans surrendered, and 5 days later, Europe's war ended. The D-Day invasion turned the tide of the war, and afterward, most human sufferings ended. The economy improved, and the Great Depression came to an end. In the U.S., many citizens joined the military and worked high-paying military defense jobs, which helped the U.S. strengthen its position as a world power. Many civilians across Western Europe were thankful that the Allies had helped free them from the Nazis' grip. The world suffered a tremendous loss, with an estimated 75 million military personnel and civilians dead from warfare, massacre, disease, and starvation. In the years following, the destroyed cities were rebuilt from rubble. Peace was never truly restored, but the world was left with hope for a better future.